The diner was half empty that rainy evening, but the silence around one particular booth felt heavier than the storm outside. A young waitress moved nervously from table to table, her hands trembling slightly as she clutched her notepad. She kept her eyes down, avoiding too much conversation, speaking only in whispers. At that booth sat Daniel, a rugged single dad in his mid-30s with warm eyes and the weariness of responsibility etched deep into his face. Across from him sat his 7-year-old daughter, Lily, her laughter and questions filling the quiet space like sunlight breaking through clouds. When the waitress approached, Daniel noticed how her voice cracked when she tried to ask for their order. Her lips trembled, and her gaze darted quickly toward the floor. Lily smiled at her, asking questions in her curious way, but the waitress only gave small nods, almost as if she was afraid to use her own words. After she left, Lily tilted her head. "Daddy, why does she look so sad?" Daniel didn't have an answer, but something tugged at him. He had been through darkness himself. He knew the look of someone carrying weight too heavy for their shoulders. When the waitress returned with their food, Daniel leaned gently across the table, his tone soft but steady. "Excuse me," he said, "I don't mean to pry, but why do you seem so scared to talk?" Her hand froze on the edge of the table. Her breathing quickened, and her eyes filled with tears she was trying desperately to hide. Daniel immediately regretted asking, but before he could apologize, she whispered the words that broke him, "My voice, it's not the same anymore. My ex used to tell me that nobody wanted to hear me speak. He said I sounded broken. And after everything he did, I started to believe him." She turned away quickly, ashamed, as though even this small confession was too much. Daniel felt his chest tighten. He thought of Lily's mother. How she had left, unable to handle the struggles of parenthood. He remembered the nights when he had believed every cruel word thrown at him. Words that told him he wasn't good enough. He knew exactly how a soul could be silenced. Lily reached out, her small hand touching the waitress's arm. "I like your voice," she said simply, her eyes shining with sincerity. The waitress gasped softly, tears finally escaping. She had spent so long hiding behind forced smiles and silence, yet here was a child, pure, innocent, offering the kind of kindness she hadn't felt in years. Over the next weeks, Daniel and Lily came back often. They made it their little tradition, Friday nights at the diner. Each time, the waitress spoke a little more. Each time, her shoulders straightened just a little higher. Daniel never pushed, never asked again, he simply listened. There were challenges. Some nights she would retreat into silence again, her fear swallowing her words. Daniel encouraged her with patience, never rushing her healing. Lily's laughter became the bridge, making conversations easier, reminding her what it felt like to be safe. One evening, after closing, the waitress surprised Daniel. She sat at his booth, nervous but determined. I've been saving money," she whispered. "I want to take classes again. Public speaking. I used to dream of being a teacher before everything fell apart." Daniel smiled, his eyes glistening. "Then you should chase that dream. Don't let anyone steal your voice again." Months passed, and the transformation was undeniable. The timid waitress who once shook at the sound of her own voice now stood at a small community center, teaching children who hung onto every word. Daniel and Lily were there in the front row, cheering the loudest. Her words no longer broke her. They healed her. And in helping her, Daniel found healing too, proof that broken souls could still rebuild, and that kindness, even in the smallest form, could rewrite someone's entire story. The message was clear. Never underestimate the power of listening, the courage of speaking, and the strength of kindness. Because sometimes, all it takes to change a life is asking one simple question, and being ready to hear the answer.